It was the summer of 2010. Cory was in the middle of building a house, and I had swung by to assist. As Cory and I worked side by side, I leaned in and I said the words, "I was thinking." Now, anyone who knows me is fully aware that I have a lot of excess energy and a desire to find new experiences. The words "I was thinking" led to hundreds and hundreds of hours of collaboration on a new project, and a big project it was. So, I was that kid. Traditional classroom experiences never really grabbed me. I enjoyed sports and I played sports, but I never really connected there. I was eager to be engaged, looking for a connection, an outlet. My awareness of this increased as I watched my son Nick grow. We signed Nick up for sports. He played soccer, he played baseball, but he wasn't into it. We would go to games, and Nick would study the scoreboard, and he'd ask how the lights worked. Like all kids, though, he wanted to be involved in something. He deserved to grow his interests, and he deserved to be recognized for his unique talents. That was essential. However, at that time, there weren't many opportunities for STEM and tech or science and tech in our community. As a classroom teacher, I see this curiosity in the students that come through our classrooms every day. A lot of the students we see, they're not your traditional learner. They're not into the latest sports stats. They like to make things with their hands. They'd love to learn to program. They love to build simple bots and then program those bots to do simple tasks. They are curious. They are hands-on learners in the truest sense of the word. Through the years, we've witnessed the increasing opportunities for kids in urban areas. But what about places like the rural Midwest? Our kids deserve to know the possibilities. They need to know that they can embrace those opportunities. They need to know that they can expand their interests and build a skill base that sets them up for their future. They need to know that while they live in a rural area, those same opportunities can be afforded them. Schools really do need to have a robust offering of after-school STEM classes for kids to take, classes that focus in science, technology, engineering, and math. These activities help build their interests. Our kids deserve this, and our rural communities deserve this as well. It's really our job to expose kids to as many STEM-related activities as we can. Because once these kids graduate from high school, they're going to need to make a decision that's going to have both financial and lifelong consequences. And it's our job to give them as many experiences as we possibly can to help them make this most important decision. You know, you look around. We all know that STEM drives innovation. There are some high-wage, high-demand careers right here in central Minnesota. The future of rural areas like ours, though, it is tech and innovation. If areas like this want to be sustainable in the future, we really do need a STEM pipeline that helps keep our graduates right here in Brainerd. So again, it's imperative that we offer these types of STEM classes. Rural schools deserve it, and I'll tell you what, our kids really deserve it. Thank you. The longer we wait, the more kids we're going to fail to show their true possibilities. So I've been a classroom teacher for 26 years. I've taught everything from elementary grades to graduate courses at the university level. All my experiences taught me that the longer you keep kids in school, the longer you keep kids engaged, the more likely they're going to be successful when presented with a difficult problem or presented with a challenge. Cory and I have witnessed a lot of kids who come through our classroom setting who are pretty quiet, pretty reserved, but when you put those kids in a classroom with the same kids that think the same way they do, they're more willing to step in and offer their ideas and their thoughts. This fosters self-growth in those kids and self-confidence, and I'll tell you, some of those kids are our most at-risk learners. We do need educators like Cory and myself who are willing to step out of their comfort zone, teach themselves the skills needed to offer these types of classes. So one of the coolest outcomes we've seen from offering after-school STEM classes for kids is our kids' increased awareness of opportunities outside of our rural area. So this year we had 6 kids apply for summer programming through the South Dakota School of Mines for summer camps that run a week long. The South Dakota School of Mines University is committed to excellence in science and engineering. All 6 of our kids were fortunate enough to receive full ride scholarships. One of our students is even going on an overnight fossil dig in the Black Hills. I mean, how cool is that? So then you got to ask yourself, how do you measure success in a program like ours? We don't have a score sheet. We don't have a stat book. Cory and I believe, though, if one student enters a STEM field, that's a success. We also believe if one student is empowered to take a chance, reach out, try a new experience, that's a success.
If one student finds a friend or a group and feels like they belong, that's a success. I started teaching technology education 13 years ago. The first year of teaching was a learning experience, to say the least. I'd sometimes sit in my office after the day and I'd ask myself, did I really sign up for this gig? I quickly found out, though, that my students, they wanted more. They wanted to find their interests, their passions. They wanted to be individuals and express themselves and explore the opportunities that they had. My teaching style quickly changed. My classrooms became an outlet for my students. I began providing students projects that would allow them to become better problem solvers, creative thinkers, independent, confident learners. I wanted them to find the path to the problem, not me show them how to get there. STEM became my new focus. From my years of teaching, it has become pivotal and evident to me that middle school is the most important time in a child's life. These are the years that adolescents are trying to find themselves, locate their strengths, and just realistically, they're trying to survive the day with their peers. But at this age, we find that students are very receptive to projects that are outside the norm. Projects that allow them to be a kid, be creative, and yet think on their own. Jim and I strongly feel at this age level, we can provide high-level opportunities to kids and be extremely successful at it. Do you remember the I was thinking comment that Jim mentioned earlier? That started a conversation between Jim and I on how we could provide opportunities outside of our regular classroom day. As a result of this conversation, the high-altitude balloon class was born, our very first after-school STEM program. The high-altitude balloon class, otherwise known as HAB, has technology and engineering processes that align perfectly with the STEM model, and at the time, and to this day, it's extremely rare to find any other middle school in the nation or in the world attempting to fly balloons. So what is HAB? I do need to give you a background on this program, because without this program, Jim and I would not be up on this stage today. The high-altitude balloon class is a 6-week after-school extracurricular activity. Kids sign up just like a sport, but instead, our students are responsible for understanding the science of weather, engineering design processes, and communication skills, presentation skills, the list goes on and on. The course is extremely fast-paced and rigorous. To make a long story short, our students are required to engineer boxes. These boxes are otherwise known as payloads. In our most recent flight, this past season, these payloads were responsible for housing up to $3,000 worth of technology and scientific equipment. So the kids had to be spot on. Once the boxes are created, we send the payloads to the edge of space with a helium-filled weather balloon. The balloon eventually bursts, we locate, we track, and retrieve our data. The highest we ever achieved on any of our flights was 22 miles up. So if you look at that picture, there's our beautiful Earth from 113,000 plus feet. The first year we ran the high-altitude balloon class was extremely challenging, not only for the students, but for Jim and I as well. But through all the troubles and the failures, and realistically, the dead ends we ran into, one thing stood out. These young middle school students never gave up. They would strive to design, problem solve, use their own individuality, which in turn fueled their confidence and drove them and pushed them even further. Truly an amazing thing to witness for Jim and I. The Samsung Solve for Tomorrow contest is a competition that allows schools across the nation to highlight their STEM programs. $110,000 worth of Samsung technology is the grand prize. In 2013, our newly developed after-school STEM program, the high-altitude balloon class, won the grand prize. As a result of our win, Jim, myself, and 6 students were flown, all expenses paid, to Washington, D.C. to accept this prestigious award. And to see the joy on those kids' faces was absolutely amazing. We've also been picked up in U.S. News and World Report, highlighted in Forbes magazine, and now, obviously, today, standing on a TEDx stage. So, all of these accomplishments solidify the fact for Jim and I that STEM is valued in our community and in our nation. Because of our successes, our after-school programs at Forest View Middle School got traction and immediately took off. Forest View Middle School now offers STEM classes that are aligned with seasonal sports offerings. Our STEM classes have been so popular that they typically fill within 48 hours of posting. Our high-altitude balloon class this year filled in under 18 hours. So the demand is there for these types of activities. We have made leaps and bounds and had tons of support from our schools and our community members. We can't emphasize enough the need for these types of programs. The simple solution in our eyes is to offer the courses and students will come. There are students waiting, wanting, searching to find a path in every school across this country. They're waiting to be somebody. They're waiting to be themselves. Now, before I walk off the stage today, Jim's going to come back out and he's going to share a story with you that inspires us to do the things that we do to this day.
So one night after class, I had a student come up to me and he says, "Do you know what the best thing about being in STEM is?" And of course, I look at him and say, "So what is the best thing about being in STEM?" And he says, "I now have somebody to sit with at lunch."
You see, ladies and gentlemen, we don't offer the courses just for an educational experience. We offer them for a gateway, a door, so these kids can find their unique skills and share them with others alike. The future is not us. It is our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.